They tell you the Emperor is invincible. They tell you no power in the galaxy can challenge his divine might. They lie. My name was Inquisitor Valen Cross of the Ordo Malleus. And I witnessed the impossible. Now I know better. Now I understand what happens when a being from beyond our reality steps into the grim darkness of the far future. When something so fundamentally different, so impossibly powerful, collides with the God Emperor of mankind himself. The battle was not fought with bolters or chainswords. The destruction was not measured in planets or systems. What I witnessed went beyond anything the Imperium could comprehend, because it challenged the very foundation of everything we believe. I still remember the day he arrived. The warp storms around Terra had been growing worse for months. My team had been investigating anomalies in the Imperium, tracking a tear in reality near the Sol system. No chaos signature, no demonic corruption, just an impossible wound in spacetime that screamed with raw, untainted energy. When the rift finally opened above Terra's orbital defenses, we expected demons. We expected invasion. Instead, we got him. He descended through the upper atmosphere like a falling star, trailing golden light that burned away the pollution of holy Terra. No ship, no transport, just a man falling from orbit as casually as stepping off a curb. The defense lasers opened fire immediately. Lance batteries capable of destroying battle cruisers focused on this single target. He swatted the beams aside with his bare hands. That should have been my first warning. I was in the command center of the Inquisitorial Fortress when the Custodian Guard contacted us. His voice was tight with something I had never heard from one of the Emperor's finest warriors, uncertainty. Inquisitor Cross, Captain General Valerian said through the Vox, "We have an intruder. Classification unknown. Priority, maximum threat. The Emperor. The Emperor has commanded an audience." The Emperor had not spoken directly to anyone in 10,000 years. He had not given commands since his interment upon the Golden Throne. Yet somehow, this impossible being had drawn his attention. I gathered my team and made for the Imperial Palace immediately. The journey through Terra's endless corridors felt like descending into a dream. Reality itself seemed thinner, as if the presence of this intruder was affecting the very fabric of space. When we finally reached the Eternity Gate, we found it open. The custodians stood at attention, their guardian spears lowered, not in welcome but in wary readiness. Beyond them, in the throne room itself, I saw him. He was shorter than I expected, perhaps 5.5 feet tall, with wild black hair that seemed to defy gravity. His clothes were strange, foreign, orange and blue in colors no imperial citizen would wear. But it was his eyes that captured attention. Dark, clear, and filled with an innocent curiosity that had no place in the Imperium of Man. He was looking around the throne room like a child in a cathedral, utterly unafraid despite being surrounded by the most powerful warriors in the galaxy. "Wow," he said in accented Gothic, his voice bright with wonder. "This place is incredible. And that golden chair thing, is that where your leader sits? The energy coming from there is amazing. Amazing." He called the psychic might of the God Emperor of mankind amazing, like it was an interesting curiosity rather than the divine power that held back the forces of chaos. Captain General Valerian stepped forward, his voice hard as ceramite. "You stand in the presence of the God Emperor of mankind, master of the Imperium, protector of humanity. Identify yourself, intruder, and explain how you breached our defenses." The man scratched his head, grinning sheepishly. "Oh, sorry about that. I didn't mean to cause trouble. My name's Goku. I'm from Earth, but I guess not your Earth. Everything here feels different. I was training with Whis when something grabbed me and pulled me through some kind of hole in space. Next thing I know, I'm falling toward this planet." He paused, his expression growing more serious. "But I gotta say, the guy in that chair, his power level is insane. I've never felt anything like it. Power level." The term meant nothing to us, but the casual way he assessed the Emperor's might sent a chill through every person in that room. This was no imperial citizen overawed by faith. This was something else evaluating the Emperor as one warrior evaluates another. I felt the psychic pressure before I heard the words. The Emperor's voice, thundering directly into our minds with the force of a supernova. You are not of this reality. You are not of the warp. What are you, traveler from beyond? Goku's grin widened. You can talk with your mind? That's so cool. Where I'm from, we call that telepathy. Some of my friends can do it too. He seemed completely unbothered by the psychic weight that was making my nose bleed. As for what I am, I'm a scion. We're a warrior race. I've spent my whole life fighting strong opponents and getting stronger. And you, his eyes locked onto the golden throne, you're probably the strongest person I've ever sensed who wasn't a god or an angel. Your presence disrupts the Astronomicon. Your energy interferes with the currents of the warp. You must leave, traveler. This galaxy has no place for your kind. For the first time, Goku's smile faded. I want to leave. I've got a family back home, friends who are probably worried about me. But I don't know how. That hole in space closed right after I came through. I can't feel any way back. He looked up at the golden throne, and I saw something dangerous flicker in his eyes. Not malice, but excitement. But before I go, I have to know. How strong are you really? Would you fight me? The temperature in the throne room dropped 20 degrees. Every custodian raised their guardian spears. My hand moved to my bolt pistol. This being had just challenged the God Emperor of mankind to combat. It was heresy beyond measure, treason that demanded immediate execution. But the Emperor's response was not what I expected. You do not understand what you ask, scion. I am bound to this throne. I cannot rise. I cannot fight as I once did. My power sustains the Imperium, holds back the darkness, guides humanity through the warp. To abandon this duty, even for a moment, would doom trillions. Goku's expression grew thoughtful. You're trapped? That's terrible. No warrior should be chained like that. He stepped closer to the throne, ignoring the custodians who moved to intercept. But I can feel it. You're not just some guy sitting in a chair. You're burning up, using all your power to hold something back. That's not fighting. That's just surviving. It is duty. It is sacrifice. Concepts a warrior from beyond might not comprehend. I comprehend sacrifice, Goku said quietly, and for the first time I heard steel in his voice. I've died protecting Earth. Twice. I've watched friends die. I've pushed my body beyond its limits so many times I've lost count. I understand duty. He raised his head, meeting the Emperor's psychic gaze directly. But I also understand that true strength isn't about sitting still and enduring. It's about breaking your limits. Growing. Becoming something more. The psychic pressure in the room intensified. I fell to my knees, blood streaming from my eyes. The custodians stood firm, but I could see them straining. Only Goku remained unaffected, standing casually before the might of the Emperor as if it were a gentle breeze. You dare lecture me about strength? I who conquered terror in the age of barbarism. I who united humanity under one banner. I who fought gods and monsters and emerged victorious. I am 10,000 years old, scion. What are you compared to that? I'm someone who wants to fight you and find out, Goku replied simply. The silence that followed was absolute. Then, impossibly, I heard something I had never heard before. Laughter. Not spoken aloud, but echoing through the warp itself. The God Emperor of mankind was laughing. You are either the bravest being I have ever encountered or the most foolish. Perhaps both. The psychic pressure eased slightly. Very well, scion. You wish to see my strength? You wish to test yourself against the master of mankind? Then bear witness. What happened next will haunt me until the day I die. The golden throne began to glow, brighter and brighter until it was painful to look upon. The psychic pressure didn't just increase, it became something physical, tangible, a weight that crushed the air itself. Reality screamed. The warp boiled. And then, for the first time in 10,000 years, the Emperor moved. Not physically. His body remained upon the throne, sustained by the endless machinery and the daily sacrifice of 1,000 psychers. But his psychic form, his true self, rose from that broken shell like a titan emerging from the ocean. I saw him as he truly was. Not the corpse upon the throne, but the being beneath, the power that had been shackled and bound and forced to burn slowly for millennia. He towered above us, a giant composed of pure golden light, wearing armor that shone like the sun, wielding a flaming sword that could cut through reality itself. This was the anathema. This was the being who had nearly destroyed chaos itself during the Great Crusade. And Goku was smiling. "Now we're talking," he shouted, his voice filled with pure joy. And then he transformed. I don't have words for what I witnessed. His hair turned golden, standing completely upright. His eyes became turquoise, filled with power that made my augmented sensors scream warnings. Lightning crackled around his body, raw energy that bent space itself. The floor beneath his feet cracked and shattered. Windows exploded throughout the Imperial Palace. And his power, his impossible, immeasurable power, rose to match the Emperor's psychic might. "This is Super Scion," Goku said, his voice deeper now, resonating with energy. "But it's just the start. Let me show you what I can really do." He screamed, and the world went white. When my vision cleared, Goku had changed again. His hair was longer, the golden aura more intense. "Super Scion 2, he announced. Then he transformed again, his hair growing even longer, the energy becoming almost unbearable. "Super Scion 3. And again, his hair shifting to blue, his aura becoming sharper, more controlled. "Super Scion Blue." Each transformation sent shockwaves through Terra. Defense systems activated across the planet. The custodians formed a protective barrier around us, their own considerable power barely enough to shield us from the collateral energy. And through it all, the Emperor watched, his psychic form analyzing, calculating, understanding. Fascinating. Your power comes not from the warp but from within yourself. A purely physical transcendence. I have never encountered such a thing. And I've never fought someone who exists as pure psychic energy while their body stays somewhere else, Goku replied. "This is incredible. Come on, show me what you've got." What followed was not a battle. Battles I could describe. This was something beyond my comprehension, beyond the ability of human language to properly convey. They moved through the throne room at speeds that made light seem slow. The Emperor's flaming sword clashed against Goku's fists, each impact releasing explosions of energy that would have leveled hive cities. Psychic might met physical force in combinations that should have been impossible. The Emperor summoned storms of golden fire that could burn demons from existence. Goku dodged through them, firing beams of blue energy from his hands that punched holes through reinforced adamantium. The Emperor erected psychic barriers that could withstand bombardments from chaos gods. Goku shattered them with his bare hands, his physical strength somehow overcoming pure mental force. They fought through the throne room, then beyond it as the Emperor's psychic form expanded into the warp itself. And Goku followed, somehow able to exist in the Imperium without protection, his own energy burning so brightly that demons fled from his presence. I watched through psychic screens as they battled across impossible dimensions, their fight creating ripples that affected the entire soul system. "You're holding back," Goku shouted, his voice carrying across both physical and psychic space. "I can tell. You're worried about something. If I release my full power, the Astronomicon fails. The Imperium is plunged into darkness. Trillions die. Even now, I am stretched to my limits maintaining my duty while manifesting this much strength." Goku paused mid-strike, his expression shifting to understanding. "You really are trapped, aren't you? Even now, even fighting like this, you can't give it everything." His transformation faded, his hair returning to black, his power dropping to normal levels. "That's not a fair fight. That's not what I wanted." "Fair?" The Emperor's psychic form shrank, returning to the throne room. Fairness is a luxury the Imperium cannot afford. Every moment I exist is unfair. Every sacrifice I demand is unfair. But it is necessary. No, Goku said firmly. There's always another way. Back home, we had a friend named King Kai who could teach techniques through mental connection. We had Dragon Balls that could grant wishes. We had so many things that seemed impossible until we tried them. He looked up at the Emperor's psychic form with absolute sincerity. What if I could help? What if there was a way to free you from that chair? The silence that followed was profound. Why would you do such a thing, Scion? You owe the Imperium nothing. You are not of our reality. When you find your way home, none of this will matter to you. Because you're a warrior trapped in a cage, Goku replied. Because you wanted to fight me, really fight me, and you couldn't. Because no one, not even someone as strong as you, should have to burn away for 10,000 years. His smile returned, warm and genuine. And because I think if you were free, if you could actually move and fight again, you'd be even stronger. That's a fight I really want to have. I saw something I never thought I would see. The Emperor, the master of mankind, the being who had seen every depth of human cruelty and ambition, was moved by simple, honest compassion. Your offer is appreciated, Scion. But the Astronomicon cannot fail. Even if I wish to be free, even if such freedom were possible, I cannot abandon my duty. Too many depend on this sacrifice. Then don't abandon it, Goku said. Teach someone else. Or split your power. Or I don't know, figure something out. You're supposed to be the smartest human ever, right? You're telling me you can't solve this problem? I have spent 10,000 years seeking a solution. There is none. Then you haven't thought about it the right way. Goku's enthusiasm was infectious even in the grim darkness of the throne room. Back home, I was dead for 7 years. Everyone thought I had to come back to life to help protect Earth. But then my son Gohan got strong enough to handle it himself. Sometimes the solution isn't about the person in the trap. It's about the people outside learning to do things differently. The Emperor was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, his psychic form began to shift, to focus, and I felt him reaching out, not into the warp, but into Goku himself. Analyzing, studying, understanding the fundamental nature of this being from beyond reality. Your energy. It is pure. Untainted by the warp, yet powerful enough to affect it. If such power could be taught, if humanity could learn to generate this strength from within rather than relying on psychic might. The Emperor's thoughts trailed off, and I felt a sensation I had never associated with him before, hope. Show me, Scion. Show me how you became what you are. And Goku did. For 3 days and 3 nights, Goku remained in the throne room, explaining concepts that made no sense to Imperial doctrine. Ki, the life energy that existed in all beings. Training that pushed the body beyond normal limits. Transformations achieved not through warp corruption but through pure physical and mental discipline. The Emperor listened, his vast intellect processing every word, every demonstration, every impossibility that Goku treated as mundane. I watched as the Emperor conducted experiments, drawing upon his vast psychic power to replicate what Goku described. The results were mixed. Humans of our reality could not naturally access Ki in the way Goku's people did. The warp had fundamentally changed humanity's relationship with energy. But there were similarities, possibilities, potential applications that the Emperor had never considered. The problem, the Emperor explained on the 4th day, his psychic voice thoughtful, is that humanity's evolution has bound us to the warp. Our psychers draw power from the immaterium, not from within themselves. To change that would require changing the fundamental nature of human consciousness across the entire species. So change it, Goku said with a shrug. If something isn't working, you try something different. That's how I learned every technique I know. Someone said it was impossible, and I proved them wrong. You make it sound simple. Because it is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. You want humanity to be stronger without relying on the warp? Then teach them. Train them. Start with one person and build from there. It might take time, but you've already been sitting in that chair for 10,000 years. What's a few more decades if it means actually fixing the problem? The Emperor's psychic form flickered, and I saw something I had never witnessed. Uncertainty. The God Emperor of mankind, the being who had planned humanity's future for 40,000 years, was questioning his own decisions. You are either a genius or an idiot, scion. I get that a lot, Goku laughed. Usually both at the same time. On the 5th day, the Emperor made his decision. I will conduct an experiment. You, scion, will train a select group of humans in your methods. If they can develop even a fraction of your power without touching the warp, it will prove the concept is viable. If successful, I will dedicate resources to developing this technique across the Imperium. It will take centuries, perhaps millennia, but humanity will be freed from our dependency on the warp. And you? Goku asked. What about freeing you? That will come later. If ever. But for the first time in 10,000 years, I see a path forward that does not end in stagnation or slow decay. That is enough. The training program began immediately. The Emperor selected 20 candidates from across the Imperium. Not psychers, but baseline humans with exceptional physical abilities and mental discipline. Former assassins, space marine candidates who had failed gene seed implantation, elite guardsmen who had survived impossible odds. Goku met with each of them, his friendly demeanor completely at odds with the grim seriousness of the Imperium. Okay, everyone, he said brightly to the assembled candidates in the training hall. First lesson, power comes from inside you, not from some outside source. It's about pushing your body to its absolute limit, breaking through that limit, and then finding a new limit to break. It's gonna hurt. A lot. But it's also gonna be the most amazing thing you've ever experienced. I watched as he put them through exercises that would have killed normal humans. Meditation while supporting massive weights. Running at full speed for days without rest. Sparring sessions where he carefully controlled his power to always push them just beyond what they thought possible. And slowly, impossibly, they began to change. It wasn't dramatic. There were no golden transformations or explosive power-ups. But I saw a guardsman who could barely do 10 push-ups manage 100. I saw a failed space marine candidate punch through a concrete wall with her bare hands. I saw a former assassin move at speeds that rivaled a custodian without using any warp-based enhancement. Goku was teaching them something the Imperium had forgotten in its 10,000 years of war and suffering: how to grow through effort rather than modification. How to become stronger through training rather than gene forging or cybernetic enhancement. It was revolutionary. It was dangerous. It was hope. The Emperor observed everything, his vast consciousness processing the implications. I felt his thoughts sometimes, leaking through the psychic screens. He was calculating, planning, seeing possibilities that extended thousands of years into the future. A humanity that could defend itself without psychers. An Imperium that didn't need the Astronomicon because ships could navigate the warp through sheer physical force of will. A species that could stand against chaos not through faith or firepower, but through the simple act of being fundamentally incompatible with the warp's corrupting influence. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. It was completely at odds with everything the Imperium had built. But on the 7th week, disaster struck. The Inquisition had been watching. Of course they had. And what they saw was heresy of the highest order. An alien creature training humans in Xeno's techniques, teaching them to reject the Emperor's gift of psychic power, encouraging them to believe they could become strong without faith or devotion. The charges were prepared. The verdict was predetermined. Goku would be declared excommunicate traitores and terminated with extreme prejudice. High Lord Inquisitor Malachi Thorn himself arrived at Terra with a fleet of black ships and an entire chapter of Grey Knights. I was present when he confronted Goku in the training hall, his voice filled with righteous fury. Alien! You have corrupted the faithful. You have undermined the Emperor's divine plan. You have spread the poison of independence and self-reliance when humanity's strength comes from unity under his guidance. For these crimes, you are sentenced to death." Goku tilted his head, confused. But the Emperor approved all of this. He's been watching the whole time. "Why would you want to kill me for doing something your leader asked me to do?" The Emperor is silent. Thorn roared. "His will is interpreted by those he has chosen to lead. And we have determined that your presence is a threat to the Imperium." I saw Goku's expression shift. Not to anger, but to disappointment. "You know what? Back home, we had people like you too. People who were so sure they were right that they wouldn't listen to anyone else. People who thought being strong meant controlling others." He looked directly at Thorn, and I saw something dangerous flicker in those dark eyes. Those people always learned the same lesson. Being strong isn't about control. It's about protection. The Grey Knights moved to attack. Goku didn't even transform. He simply moved, faster than any of them could track, and touched each warrior on the forehead. They collapsed instantly, not injured, just unconscious. The entire chapter of the Imperium's finest demon hunters, defeated in 3 seconds without a single blow struck. Thorn's face went purple with rage. He raised his demon hammer, calling upon the Emperor's power to smite this Xeno's threat. The psychic energy gathered around him, enough to burn a greater demon from existence. He brought the hammer down with all his might. Goku caught it with one finger. "I don't want to hurt you," he said quietly. "But I'm not going to let you stop something good just because you're scared of change." That was when the Emperor intervened. The entire Imperial Palace shook with psychic force. The Emperor's voice thundered through every mind on Terra, carrying a weight of authority that could not be denied or misinterpreted. "Stand down." Thorn fell to his knees, his hammer clattering to the ground. The Grey Knights, those still conscious, prostrated themselves. Every person in the training hall dropped in submission. Every person except Goku, who simply looked up at the ceiling with interest. "High Lord Inquisitor Thorn, you have exceeded your authority. The scion acts with my blessing and my command. The techniques he teaches may be the key to humanity's salvation. You will withdraw your fleet, rescind your charges, and speak of this to no one. Is that understood?" But my lord," Thorn stammered, his face pale. "He is Xeno's. He teaches heresy. He undermines your divinity. He teaches possibility. He teaches that humanity is capable of more than endless war and slow death. He teaches hope, Inquisitor. When was the last time you taught that?" The silence was absolute. For 10,000 years, the Imperium had operated on faith, fear, and fanaticism. The Emperor himself had never contradicted that structure, never suggested there was any other way. But now, before the highest authorities of the Inquisition, he was openly endorsing change. It was revolutionary. It was heretical. It was exactly what the Imperium needed and exactly what it feared most. Thorn withdrew, but I knew the damage was done. Word would spread. The conservative factions within the Imperium would resist. There would be schisms, possibly civil wars. The simple act of teaching humans to rely on themselves rather than faith or technology could tear the Imperium apart. That night, I found Goku sitting on the palace walls, looking up at the stars. "You're going to cause a catastrophe," I told him. "Half the Imperium will see this as salvation. The other half will see it as the worst heresy imaginable. There will be war." "I know," Goku said quietly. "I've seen that look before. People who are so invested in the old way that they'll fight anyone who suggests something different." He sighed. "But I also know that if nothing changes, everyone here is just going to keep suffering. Your Emperor knows it too. That's why he's willing to take the risk." "And when you leave?" I asked. "When you find your way back to your reality? What happens to the revolution you've started? Then it's up to you guys to finish it." He turned to look at me, and his eyes held a wisdom that belied his casual manner. "Change is always scary. It's always hard. But that doesn't mean it's wrong. Your people are strong. Maybe stronger than you realize. You don't need me to succeed. You just needed someone to show you it was possible. 3 months after his arrival, Goku found his way home. Not through Imperial technology or the Emperor's power, but through sheer chance. A warp storm opened near Terra, carrying the same energy signature as the rift that had brought him here. He sensed it immediately, his key allowing him to feel things that human sensors couldn't detect. "That's my way back," he said, standing in the throne room one final time. "I can feel my reality on the other side." "Then go, Scion. Return to your home, to your people. You have done more for humanity in 3 months than most accomplish in lifetimes. Will you be okay?" Goku asked. "Will the training program continue?" "It will. You have planted a seed, Goku. Whether it grows into salvation or chaos remains to be seen. But it is a chance, and chances are precious in this dark galaxy." Goku grinned. "Good. Because when you figure out how to break free from that chair, I expect you to come find me. We never got to have that real fight, the one where you're at full power and not holding back. I want that fight. If such a day ever comes, I will seek you out, Scion. I promise you that." They didn't shake hands. They didn't salute. They simply acknowledged each other, one warrior to another, and that was enough. I watched as Goku flew up through Terra's atmosphere, heading toward the warp storm that would carry him home. As he disappeared into that impossible rift, I felt the Emperor's presence one last time, a whisper in my mind. "Remember what you witnessed here, Valen Cross. Remember that change is possible. Remember that humanity's strength does not come solely from me, but from within each person who chooses to be more than what they were." That is the lesson the Scion taught us. Do not let it be forgotten. The rift closed. Goku was gone, returned to whatever impossible reality had spawned him. But his impact remained. 20 years have passed since that day. The training program Goku started has expanded to 300 students across 5 worlds. The techniques are still crude, still developing, but the results are undeniable. Humans who can move faster than unaugmented eyes can track. Soldiers who can survive injuries that would kill normal men. Warriors who face demons without fear because they've learned to generate power from within themselves rather than borrowing it from the warp. The Imperium is divided. Entire sectors have embraced the new techniques, calling them the Emperor's gift for the new age. Other sectors have declared them heretical, executing anyone who practices them. There have been skirmishes. There have been purges. The civil war many predicted hasn't come yet, but it feels inevitable. But I remember what Goku said. Change is scary. It's hard. But that doesn't make it wrong. The Emperor still sits upon the golden throne, burning away slowly, sustaining the Imperium through his endless sacrifice. But sometimes, when I'm in the throne room, I feel something different from him. Not resignation. Not just endurance. Hope. Because somewhere out there, in a reality beyond our own, there is a scion who proved the impossible. Who showed that strength doesn't require corruption. Who demonstrated that humanity could be more than what we've become. And if a being from beyond our reality could help us in 3 months, what could we accomplish in 3 centuries? 3 millennia? This is the legacy of Goku's arrival in the Imperium. Not a battle won or lost, but a question posed: what if we could be better? What if we didn't have to accept the grim darkness? What if the future could be something more than endless war? The Emperor believes it's possible. Goku proved it's possible. And that is more dangerous to the forces of chaos than any amount of bolter fire or psychic might. Because hope is the one thing the dark gods cannot corrupt. They tell you the Emperor is invincible. They tell you no power in the galaxy can challenge his divine might. They're wrong. Because the real power wasn't in the fight between Goku and the Emperor. It was in the conversation that followed. In the willingness to learn. In the courage to change. And that is the most terrifying thing of all. Not to our enemies, but to those who profit from keeping humanity chained to the past. The scion is gone. But his question remains. What if we could be free?